Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I don't normally do videos on summoning events anymore because they're just so frequent, but I do want to do one for this one just because it's quite unique and some people are going to be pretty damn interested in it. So from this weekend, there's going to be a 2x chance to get legendaries from Sacreds. I know what you're thinking. HH, who the hell's got Sacreds right now? I'm in the same boat, by the way. I don't have Sacreds lined up because I use them for the kind of like trying to get my double legendary, and then I use them again, whatever I had left, for the Wixwell summoning. But some people will buy some, or they've got some, or they'll just grab some from Clan Boss over the next few days, and you might have a couple, or you might have more. It depends what you've been doing. But ultimately, I don't know, guys. It's a pretty nutty event going on over the weekend. So it's 96 hours. It's from Thursday until Sunday, or the end of Sunday, and or I guess beginning of Monday. And basically, you've got the four faction Unity legendaries day by day. So you can kind of like choose the one which is most interesting to you or to your account to go for. It doesn't mean you're going to get it. It's still only going to be a 2x chance to get a legendary. And then if you get a legendary, it's then a 10x chance that it's going to be one of these. So, we've spoken about this before. Doesn't mean you're like guaranteed. It's still quite a low chance of getting the one you want, but it's a better chance than normal. And that's all we can hope for, I guess. So let's go through them then. So the first one here for tomorrow, for Thursday, and it's unusual to get them started on a Thursday, is going to be the one that I picked up the other day, which is June Lord Gregor. I would say June Lord is awesome if you have got Armands, because he synergizes extremely well with Armands. Outside of Armands, I feel like the Barbarian faction is actually a little bit underwhelming. Okay, so you've got some good champions in there. Tahanarak, you've got Turvold, you've got the Archer. After that, honestly, it starts to drop off pretty quick. Elder Skard is decent, Kantra is decent. The Jetney Alsgord combo is kind of interesting as well. If you picked up Xena, she's decent, but they're not like a crazy faction nowadays compared to a lot of other ones in the mix. June Lord, he's mainly either a setup for Armands or he's a Hydra champion. So you've got Provoke here, you've got an AoE ability here, which books to a 3-turn. And this is one of these kind of like buff increase abilities whilst giving you shield. So I guess you could pair him with Wixwell, but this is a watch out. Like if you paired him with Wixwell, there's a chance he could overwrite shield early on, because the way overriding shield works is if the new shield is bigger than the previous shield, the new shield takes over. So this is a bit of a watch out, I think. But anyway, he's got buff increase here. And then his Unity stuff, his Barbarian Unity stuff. So with one other person from the faction, well, I guess, first off, you get increased attack and increased accuracy for your team. That on its own is quite good, and it books to a 4-turn. But if you've got one more Barbarian on the team, decreases the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn. That's a phenomenal first one. If there's 2, also gives the turn meter fill 20%. And if there's 3, activates instant turn for the champion with high crit damage. So this is cool. And I don't think that has to be a Barbarian. So if you get 3 Barbs on the same team, you can start doing all of these other things. And I mean, honestly, his A2 matched with even having 1 Barbarian is pretty sweet. And I guess in terms of a Wixwell team, just thinking about it for myself here, if I just had Turvold as my damage dealer and we're reducing the cooldown of skills whilst he's being a buff increase dude, I am wondering if I could run just 2 buff increase guys. Damn, maybe. I'll have to play around with that. And then his other skill here, so when attacked, chance to place a provoke on the attacker. Again, this is quite a nice Hydra thing. I guess these are good for Hydra, like instant turns good for Hydra, but depends what sort of team you're running. So yeah, if he's got 1 faction ally, allies deal 25% more damage to enemies under stun, sleep, basically any control. Okay, so this is where the Armands X factor drops in, right? So 25% more damage if someone's stunned. If you've got 2 in the mix, allies ignore 50% target's resistance. Hello Armands, do you fancy getting some stuns and turn meter? And then 3 in the mix, when counter-attacking, instant effects and debuffs placed by ally skills cannot be resisted or blocked. So that's only going to be A1. So that's, I guess you'd pair him with someone like Valk to really enable that, you know, to get those counterattacks off. But definitely an interesting first two for Armand's type of stuff. So yeah, so that's Dunod. He's got defense and accuracy in all battles for Barbs. I'd say decent, but these are always reliant on who else is in the faction, right? So second one up is the Bannerlord dude, which is Aislinn. So Aislinn was the first one that was introduced. Again, you kind of look at the faction. Well, if you've got Taras and Mariska, massively enhances him. Stultus is also very good. Rhonda in the right place, very good. The Blade Master, very good. So yeah, there's a few in this faction, but they really come down to like the Void Legendaries, I'd say, for the real benefit. This guy's got a chance to stun on his A1. A heal. Heals all allies by the value of all shields on allies, then removes shields and attacks all enemies. This attack dealt by this attack is equal to the total shields removed. I've not actually really seen people playing with this, but I guess if you're growing big shields, it could be quite interesting. I guess it's kind of similar to what Yannicka does, right? I think it's similar to what Yannicka does. I wonder if this is another way of maybe doing that crazy Yannicka stuff in Hydra now. Removes all shields from all allies and attacks enemies. The damage dealt by this attack is equal to the total value of shield removed. Oh, so but damage cannot exceed 1000% of this champion's defense. So what would that be? 150k. Okay, so you can't do a Yannicka explosion because he's got this one line of text in here. This might be what they do to Yannicka, by the way. Something like this. I'm not saying nerf Yannicka, by the way. I actually think it's quite cool that exists, but if you're going to allow Trunda, you need to allow these things, honestly. Anyway, we then get to the part where if you've got other faction dudes around, so places a shield equal to 30% of this champion's HP on all allies and ally protect. If you've got one other guy around, instantly activates this skill whenever an ally is revived. It's pretty mad. Will not put it on cooldown. If you've got two, also puts block damage. Don't forget, instantly activates, puts block damage for 2 turns. And 3, basically the buffs are totally protected. This is where he potentially becomes totally nuts with the right team. And then a passive here. Allies under shield buffs receive 10% less damage. And then if you've got more people in the mix, allies under shield buffs are immune to any control. Allies under ally protection have got a 20% chance to counter. And the value of any shield buffed is increased by 100% if you've got 3. Pretty mad. He's a pretty mad dude in the right team. The next one I think is going to be... Oh no, the last one's going to be the one that everyone wants. This one, Fina, I think... And this is kind of like day by day, by the way. So this is going to be the Saturday one. I think there's just not enough good champions in this faction. Like really good champions. It's all a bit... 2 years ago, this set of champions. Bellinor's very good. Yannicka, I guess, is good now in the right setup, but that might change. Outside of that, Lyssandra's good as a turn-meter controller. The Huntsman can do some good damage. Supreme Elhain can do some good damage. We use these champions. I'm not saying these champions are not usable. They're just not like, wow. Athorian, I guess, is probably the one to watch out for as a crazy Hydra champ. One I don't have. But anyway, Fina, Blade of Aravia. So she's available on the Saturday. So what we've got going on here, very quick and stuff. She's like, in her own skill, she's decent. So chance to increase the cooldown of a random skill of the enemy on an A1. When counter-attacking with this skill, teams up with a random ally as well. The ally joining the attack will use a default. This is a cool A1, actually. A2 puts out block debuffs, block damage, and counter-attack for one ally for 2 turns. If the target is not the skill, resets the cooldown of all of their abilities. Very cool. This books to a 3-turn. And then she's got here. So increase attack, crit rate, and crit damage for all allies. If she's got one other person, she gets another go. She gets 2, and this books to a 3-turn. So that's in effect on a 2-turn cooldown. So it's going to be constantly up. If there's 2 of the faction around before placing buffs, removes any debuffs, so full cleanse. And if there's 3, buffs placed by this skill cannot be removed. So again, like enhanced buffs, protected buffs. She's then got the passive here. So whenever a buff is placed by an ally, fills their turn meter by 3%. I wonder if she counts as well in that, because she places a ton of buffs. I guess she does. And then we've got, if there's one other faction person around, allies deal 25% more damage. There's 2, whenever a buff is removed or stolen. So even if a buff falls off, 10% turn meter fill. So this is giving you like 30% every time these are removed. Another 30% here. It's like turn meter for days with this. And then if there's 3 around, allies will ignore 5% target's defense. So she's got speed, she's got crit rate. I think her kit's actually really good. It's just like, who are you bringing in? I guess you could go turn meter crazy and have like her with Arbiter, but she's bringing some of the same stuff. I don't know. Just feels like it's a bit of a wonky faction for it. But maybe there's some stuff that you can think of which would be cool. The last one then is, I think, the one that people will go for if they do this. So, Falmond Mornsword. Again, if we look at the rest of the faction here, a few of us might be getting close to Maud. You've got this kind of pairing of Cupidus and Venus, which is good. Wixwell now, maybe. I don't know. Depends what we're doing. Martyr's in the mix. Again, like I would say Corvus is up there. I'm not looking at the champions here and thinking, yeah, you know, I use them all. Yeah, I've got a lot of them. Do I use them in much content? Not really. Obviously, like for the average account, if you've got a few, then you'll be using most of them, right? I'm just saying from more like an endgame team, Cupidus and Venus feels like the most viable. Cardiel is top tier. Supreme Aether was buffed and is now decent in terms of damage. Martyr's still decent. You know, Bivald I use a bit. Bishop I use a bit. Constantine hits hard. So there's some good options, but this guy is more about slapping the enemy. This guy's more about like coming in with the big hits. I'm interested actually if anyone's endgame player watching, if people are using this guy in like endgame arena in any way, because he's definitely got a fun kit. So we've got here, attacks an enemy. This is on the Sunday, by the way. Heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted. If there's any surplus heal, it becomes a shield. Which is cool. Will attack using Burning Courage skill instead if the target is from Corrupted Alliance, which you can see the alliance is here. So this is like basically, this is a lot of the meta, or maybe it's the old meta now actually. The meta used to be these factions. Maybe they're not so much anymore. Yeah, they're probably not so much anymore actually. But the Corrupted is like the undead, the demon spawn and stuff. It's the meta when I used to play Arena a lot. So we've got A2 then. So 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies. Damage inflicted by this skill increases by 5% for each buff and debuff on a target. Ignores 25% of targets, 25% defense of targets that have no buffs. So either way, this is going to hit hard. The A3, this is where you start to get the skills popping up. So attacks one enemy. Before attacking, removes all buffs from a target. Damage increases by 20% for each buff removed. So this could be kind of mad. Before attacking, steals all buffs from the target if there's one other guy around. Cannot be resisted. And it increases by 20% for each buff stolen. So you're getting like double bubble on the damage here. If they've got 2 faction allies around, the damage inflicted by this skill increases by 20% for each turn taken by an ally or enemy before this champion's next turn. Imagine running this guy slow. I mean, this is potentially the biggest damage dealing ability in the game right here, which is quite fun. Yeah, it's quite fun. This one basically should one-shot anyone in the game. I wonder, it does say champions specifically, so I guess it's no good for bosses. And then if there's 3 around, will attack all remaining enemies with any surplus damage after the initial one is killed. So again, this could wipe out a whole team based on having 3 allies around. This attack cannot be a crit. If the initial target survives, you get true fear on all enemies. And then we've got the passive here. Decreases the damage taken by this champion. So this is like, I can run him slow because he's going to take less damage. By 10% for each turn taken by an ally or enemy before his next turn. So you can get him to a point where he's unkillable if there's enough turns going on, which is quite interesting. If there's one other person around, fills an ally's turn meter by 2% whenever there's a buff or a debuff. If there's 2, puts revive on death for 1 turn on an ally whenever their HP drops low. And if there's 3, all allies are immune to cooldown increasing effects. So like your Yumikos, your Warlords and stuff. Yes, attacking all battles, crit rate as well. Super interesting dude, this one. Like, probably a ton of fun in Arena if you get him in a cool team. You do need 3 other Sacred Orders, though. And this is where we come back to this kind of like who you're bringing in type of mentality. Like, if you just want to survive for long, you know, it could be Cupidus and Venus. Cupidus and Venus together in Arena are annoying, providing you've got a lot of protection for the team. So you might bring someone like a Rosh card in and just put block damage out and you know, slow down Falmond. Have Cupidus slow as well, just like counter-attacking when Venus is on the same team. You have like massive bolster set here and here. I don't know. There's stuff you can do here, but I'd love to know if anyone's really activated Falmond at like a high level of gameplay, because that would be quite interesting to see. But there you go, guys. Look, interesting summoning weekend. Let me know if this one is one that you would go for. Anyway, I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you soon.